Hello and welcome to Foreign Desk on Benue Television. I am Susan Ayo. The headlines: Security forces detain protesters in Uganda. European Union stripes Hungary of rights to host meeting. Plus, Palestinian factions signs national unity agreements on control of Gaza. And the news in details. Uganda's security forces on Tuesday detained a number of young people in downtown Kampala who were taking part in a banned rally against what the protesters say are rampant corruption and human rights abuses by the country's ruler. According to reports, the detention were being made with viral videos showing a small group of young people being intercepted and detained by police while marching. The protesters were holding placards and shouting slogans denouncing corruption. Uganda authorities banned the planned protest, citing intelligence reports which alleges that criminally minded young youth might hijack it in order to loot and vandalize. Soldiers and police officers have been deployed around the parliament's building and in the center of the Ugandan capital with the aim of deterring protesters. All roads to the parliament have been blocked, with only lawmakers and all the parliamentary staff gaining access. Ugandans with businesses near parliament experience difficulty getting to their premises. The police has also sealed off offices of Uganda's biggest opposition party, accusing them of mobilizing for the protest. The party denied it was organizing the march, but said it supported it. Opposition leaders and rights activists say embezzlement and misuse of government funds are widespread in Uganda. They have long accused President Yoweri Museveni of failing to prosecute corrupt senior officials who are politically loyal or related to him. The death toll from two landslides in southern Ethiopia has risen to more than 100 people, according to government officials who warned that the number could increase. The first slide, triggered by heavy rains in the remote region of Gofa zone, occurred on Monday and was followed by the second one that buried people who had gathered to help. The zonal head of the National Disaster Response Agency in Gofa, Marcos Melese, said at least 157 bodies had been recovered from two villages. Gofa is part of the state known as the Southern Nations, Nationalities and Peoples Region SNNPR, located about 320 kilometers southwest of the capital, Addis Ababa. Images shared on social media by the state-affiliated media outlet Fanon Broadcasting Corruption showed hundreds of people near the devastating scene of tumbled soil, using their hands to dig through the dirt. According to the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, the state has been battered by the short seasonal rains between April and May that caused flooding and mass displacement. OCHA revealed that in May, floods impacted over 19,000 people in several zones, displacing over the thousands, and finalized on Tuesday in China after 3 days of intensive talk lays the groundwork for interim national reconciliation government to rule post-war Gaza. The agreement was signed by long-term rivals Hamas and Fatah, as well as 12 other Palestinian groups. Secretary General of the Palestinian National Initiative, Mustafa Barghouti, one of the 14 factions to sign the accord, told newsmen that the agreement goes further than any other reached in recent years. He said its four main elements are the establishment of an interim national unity government, the formation of unified Palestinian leadership ahead of future elections, the free elections of new Palestinian National Council, and general declaration of unity in the face of ongoing Israel attack. Barghouti noted that the move towards a unity government is important because it blocked Israeli efforts to create some sort of collaborative structure against Palestinian interests. According to the analyst, reconciliation between Hamas and Fatah would be a key turning point in internal Palestinian relations. The two main political parties in the Palestinian territory have been bitter rivals since conflict arose in 2006, after which Hamas seized control of Gaza. Fatah controls the Palestinian Authority, which has partial administrative control of the West Bank. Mexican officials have destroyed 50 monster trucks used by cartels in the gun battles. The vehicles, which are also referred to as Frankenstein's trucks because of the modifications made to them, such as adding gun turrets and armored plates, were seized by security forces. The trucks belonged to a number of criminal organizations, including the Scorpion, a group of hitmen working for the Gulf cartel. Footage released by Mexico's Federal Prosecutor's Office showed a crane toppling the heavy trucks before they were crushed. Some of the trucks were painted in the camouflage color, while the features cartel markings. The monster trucks are most often delayed as the show of force to when cartel members expect to be involved in a gun battle. Armorers in the pay of the cartels add bulletproof panels to the side and sometimes battling rams of the front. Reinforced turrets and some machine guns can be fired are also common features. The truck's homemade armors have become more sophisticated since they were first spotted in 2010. The 50 trucks destroyed by the prosecutor's office were all seized in the northeastern state of the Tamaulipas, which borders Texas in the United States of America. You're watching Foreign Desk on Benue Television. Let's take a quick break. Stay with us. Glad to have you back. Krasnodar Governor Veniamin Kondratev says one person has been killed and other wounded in the Ukrainian drone attack on a ferry at a port in southern Russia. According to the regional governor, the ferry caught fire at Port Kharkov, but there was no risk of it spreading. The port lies in a few kilometers from the Kerch Bridge, which enables road and rail travel between Russia and the Crimean Peninsula, which Russia annexed in 2014. The Ukraine attacked the same area of the end of May, hitting an oil terminal near Port Kharkov. The area around the Russian-built bridge over the Kerch Strait has been repeatedly attacked by Ukrainian forces since the full-scale Russian invasion in 2022. Russian Navy ships based in Crimea has been sunk or badly damaged. Earlier this month, head of the Ukrainian Navy said that the Russian Black Sea fleet had been forced to move almost all of its warships from Crimea to other ports. In a separate development, Ukrainians' air defense downed 7 Shahed-type attack drones and a cruise missile launched by Russia. Ukrainian's Energy Ministry Olev Shenevnubov said that the Russian attack drone struck in a critical infrastructure facility in Sumy region, cutting power to 50,000 consumers. Russia's defense ministry claims that about 50 foreign instructors and the machineries were killed in the strike without offering any evidence other than a video of the purported attack. It added that Russian forces shot down 25 Ukrainian drones in the west of the country and over Crimea. Ukraine's Foreign Affairs Minister Dmytro Kuleba on Tuesday visited China for talks on how two officials there might help end the war with Russia, whose ties with Beijing were grown stronger since the conflict began. China presents itself a neutral party in the war and says it is not sending lethal assistance to either side. Kyiv said Kuleba's visit would focus on ways to stop Russia's aggressions as well as China's possible role in achieving sustainable and just peace. Beijing on Tuesday said the talks would focus on advancing China-Ukraine's cooperation on other issues of common interest. China's Foreign Affairs spokesperson Mao Ning stated that China believes that in an early ceasefire and political settlement serves the common interests of all parties. The United States of America and Europe have accused China of selling components and equipment necessary to keep Russia's military production afloat. But Beijing has refuted claims it is supporting Russia's war efforts, insisting that its opposition was possible and above board, accusing the West of fueling the conflict through arms shipments to Kyiv. According to observers, China has sought to paint itself as a mediator in the war, sending envoys Li Hu to Europe on multiple rounds of shuttle diplomacy. China's President Xi Jinping has also told his Hungarian counterpart Viktor Orban that world powers should have Russia and Ukraine restart direct negotiations. European Union's foreign policy chief Joseph Borrell has stripped Hungary of the right to host the next meeting of foreign and defense ministers over its stance on the war in Ukraine. This comes week after Hungary assumed the routine presidency of the Council of the European Union, a role in which would normally host the event, and amid anger over a meeting Prime Minister Viktor Orban held with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow. Borrell said Hungary's action should have consequences and the EU has to send a signal, even if the signal every 6 months under each new Council presidency. The EU's foreign minister and defense minister hold informal meeting to discuss the biggest global issues facing the bloc. The next set of meetings will take place on August 28 to 30, 2024, and were to be held in the Budapest, but Borrell announced that should instead take place in Brussels. Citing comments made after the meeting with Putin, in which Orban accused the EU of having a pro-war policy, Borrell told newsmen that if anyone wants to talk about the war party, it should be Putin. Analysts say that Orban's meeting with Putin came as part of what was described as peace mission, launched the days after Hungary assumed the Council presidency, and that also saw Orban visiting the leaders of Ukraine and China, as well as the Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump in the United States. China and Russia have hit out of the claims from the United States of America that growing cooperation between Beijing and Moscow in the Arctic would threaten regional stability. Responding in a strategic report from the U.S. Department of Defense, the two nations hit back on Tuesday at the criticism of their actions in Arctic, which was Washington framed as being driven by geopolitical developments. With global warming, shrinking ice coverage in the Arctic, offering increased access to shipping and fossil fuels, the polar region is viewed as increasingly strategic. The U.S. report noted that Russia has in recent years beefed up military presence in the Arctic, reopening and modernizing several bases and artificial abundance since the end of the Soviet era. China, meanwhile, has poured money into polar exploration and research to build a polar sink road. Russia and China have been working together to develop Arctic shipping routes as Moscow seeks to deliver more oil and gas to China and Western sanctions, while Beijing seeks an alternative shipping route to reduce its dependence on the Straits of Malacca. The Pentagon report said that China is looking to leverage changing dynamic in the Arctic to pursue greater influence and access, take advantage of Arctic resources, and play a larger role in regional governance. The report called on the U.S. government to invest more to upgrade sensors, communications, and space-based technologies in the region and to keep pace with China and Russia. We'll take more news after this break. Stay with us. Glad to have you back on Foreign Desk. India's top court has ruled that restaurants cannot be forced to display the names of their owners, suspending police orders in two northern states that critics said could foment discrimination against Muslims. Recall that police in the two states, both ruled by Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Bharatiya Janata Party (BJP), gave oral orders requiring restaurants and even roadside carters along a route taken each year by thousands of Hindu pilgrims to put the names of their owners on display board. Police said that the move would help pilgrims who travel on foot to sacred sites during the holy months of Shravan, many of whom follow dietary restrictions during their journey. But the Supreme Court bench ruled that while restaurants could be expected to state the type of food they serve, including whether it is vegetarian, they must not be forced to display the name and identities of owners. The court suspended orders by the police in the Uttar Pradesh of the Uttarakhand land, states that issued a notice to them seeking their response on petitions challenging the move. The Uttar Pradesh government, which was the first to implement the rule, had said in the meant to maintain the purity of the faith of the pilgrims, showing and Kanwaris who were devotees of the Hindu god Shiva. They trekked for days or weeks at the time of the pilgrims' search along the sacred Ganges River in order to gather waters to be offered to several temples. Majorities of the pilgrims are young males and who travel to and fro temples down through Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Madhya Pradesh, Haryana, Delhi, and Rajasthan states. According to available records, more than a third of the Indians' 1.4 billion people are estimated to be vegetarians, the world's largest percentage of people who don't eat meat or eggs. Some vegetarians choose to eat in restaurants that also serve meat and don't rent out houses to meat-eating tenants. With that, we've come to the end of our bulletin this afternoon. Before we go, a recap of the top stories. Security forces have detained protesters in Uganda. European Union has stripped Hungary of rights to host meeting. We also told you that Palestinian factions have signed National Unity Agreement on control of Gaza. Thanks for being part of Foreign Desk on Benue Television. I am Susan Ayo. Remain blessed.